Hello everyone. Today I will be exploring socket programming. I hear it's a really low level kind of stuff, which I'm not quite sure if it is or not. So let me see if my sound is okay. Sound hello, recording I used to pump up the sound. Yes, man. Saying, yeah, it's all right now. Um, I should maybe do a face cam. Fuck it. Network camera or something. Network camera software. IP cam. Phone to laptop. Okay, IP cam. What do I do with this? Web client नहीं छैन क्या? Does this not have web client? What? Okay. I don't get it, but okay. IP cam PC गर्नु पर्यो. Let's do this. Yes. Web detected. This will. Okay. I don't need microphone. धूप से निकल के छाँव से गुजर के restart? Hey, let's not restart. Okay. Alright, allow it to run. We have it. Okay, so we are connected, right? This is my setup. Okay. Alright, this is my setup, and what am I supposed to do now? Wait, hardware. Something like this is all right. Yes. Okay, it's working, still working. So I just need to figure out a way to video capture device one. That's all. Okay, that is enough. Let me just put it in a different screen. Okay, it's crispy. Damn. Sure. If it was something like this, मजा आउँथ्यो होला, but nah, never mind. APL भनेको a programming language, array oriented programming language. Okay, array oriented programming language that revolves around sockets. So I figured I can't really maintain you without knowing what I'm messing with. I have no networking knowledge whatsoever, and I'm starting this learning experience with the impression that sockets are tunnel roads that allow different programs to communicate. This is my limited intuitive understanding of sockets, which we'll find together whether it is decent intuition or not. My generic game plan is to read enough about sockets so that I can explain what sockets are to others. I can manipulate sockets in my Python programs, and I can make use of sockets in my Python program to have them communicate with each other. Learning in public. This is gonna be creepy. Yes, it is. Holy shit. I could. Hey, I know what to do. This maybe somewhat decent. Alright. Bald spot. Fuck. But no sweat, no sweat. Why am I getting surprised? Goddamn, okay. As we read through how to, we learn about IPC, inter-process communication, which validates the idea that sockets are used for programs to communicate with each other. Okay, sockets are used nearly everywhere, but are one of the most severely misunderstood technologies around. This is a 1,000-foot overview of sockets. It's not really a tutorial. You'll still have to work to do in getting things operational. It does not cover the fine points, and there are a lot of them, but I hope it will give you enough background to begin using them recently. Sockets. I'm only going to talk about INET, IPv4 sockets, but they account for at least 99% of the sockets in use. And I'll only talk about stream, that is IPC sockets, unless you really know what you're doing, in which case this auto isn't for you. You'll get better behavior and performance from a stream socket than anything else. I will try to clear up the mystery of what a socket is, as well as hints on how to work with blocking and non-blocking sockets. But I'll start by talking about blocking sockets. You'll need to know how they work before dealing with non-blocking sockets. Part of the trouble with understanding these things is that socket can mean a number of subtly different things depending on context. So first, let's make a distinction between a client socket and endpoint of a conversation, and a server socket, which is more like a switchboard operator. The client application in your browser is, for example, uses client socket exclusively. The web browser is it's talking to uses both server sockets and client sockets. Okay. Client socket भनेको चाहिँ endpoint for conversation को server socket भनेको चाहिँ is like a switchboard operator. It can connect to multiple endpoints अथवा client sockets हरु. So दुईटा खालको socket हुन सक्छ, which is the client application in your browser, for example, uses client socket exclusively. The web server it's talking to uses both server socket and client socket. Okay, I don't understand this. History. One of the various forms of IPC sockets are by far the most popular. On any given platform, there are likely to be other forms of IPC that are faster, but for cross-platform communication, sockets are about the only game in town. They were invented in Berkeley as a part of BSD flavor of Unix. They spread like wildfire in the internet with good reason. The combination of sockets with INET makes talking to arbitrary machines around the world unbelievably easy, at least compared to other schemes. Creating a socket. Okay, maybe I should just hटाएर alright, एउटा नयाँ फाइल बना. So what the hell? Socket. Action. Do I need to install it? Pip छैन. Python 3 pip. Create an INET streaming socketry. On any given platform, there are likely to be other forms of IPC that are faster. Cross-platform communication sockets are only about the only game in town. They were invented in Berkeley. They are combination of sockets with INET makes talking to arbitrary machines around the world unbelievably easy, at least compared to other schemes. What is INET? INET one? Internet Global System of Intercommunicated Network. INET framework. So internet भन्नु खोजे जस्तो लाग्यो. Okay, I need to understand this. So I'll go to ChatGPT. What does INET mean? Internet protocol, IP family, also called internet address family, that sockets can use. When you create a socket in Unix, Linux, Windows, which you specify which address family it belongs to. For example, AF Unix or AF local for communication between processors on the same machine using Unix domain sockets. INET IPv4 को लागि INET use हुन्छ. INET 6 भनेको चाहिँ IPv6. So the combination of all. INET भनेको चाहिँ IPv4 based sockets अरु उठाएर नेटवर्किङ सकेटहरू लिएर ओके IPv4 सकेट पायो नि त ठिक छ pip install do I need to install socket in Python okay सुरुमा इम्पोर्ट गर्नु पर्यो s equals to socket dot af inet so socket dot sock stream रे let's start city okay यसले टपल लिन्छ रे कनेक्ट भन्नेले चाहिँ which has www.python.org र it is a what the hell okay God damn. Isn't के भयो depreciated okay are we done now connect matra bhayirahcha when the connect completes the socket as can be used to send in a request for the text of the page the same socket will read the reply and then be destroyed that's right destroyed client sockets are normally used for one exchange or a small set of sequential changes what happens in web server is a bit complex first the web server creates a socket server okay create an inet streaming socket server socket भनेको चाहिँ यो हुन्छ रे says server socket AF inet भनेको के हो address family AF address family inet okay so socket dot inet मात्र पनि भन्न सकिन्थ्यो हैन AF I A okay server socket dot bind socket dot get hostname okay server socket listen भइरहेछ अरे 5 सेकेन्डसम्म हो के हो यो a couple of things we need to notice we use socket.get hostname so the socket would be visible to the outside world if we are just your socket s.bind localhost 80 गरेपछि चाहिँ or s.bind loop back गरेपछि we would still have server socket but one that was only visible within the same machine s.bind भएपछि चाहिँ खाली भएपछि specifies the socket is reachable by any address the machine happens to have specifies that the socket is reachable by any address the machine happens to have. The second thing to note, low number posts are usually reserved for well-known services, SNMP, SNMP, etc. If you're playing around, use a high number for design. Finally, the argument to listen tells the socket library that we want it to queue up as many as 5 connect requests, the normal max, before refusing outside connections. If the rest of the code is written properly, that should be plenty. Now we have a server socket listening on port 80. We can enter the main loop of the web server. While true. So we have a server socket that gets the host name अनि त्यसले चाहिँ 80 मा लिसन गर्छ अनि यसले चाहिँ क्लाइन्ट सकेट भयो त्यो चाहिँ जसले चाहिँ यसमा कनेक्ट गर्न खोजिरहेको छ कनेक्ट गरिरहेको छ Now do something with the client socket. In this case, we'll pretend this is a threaded server array. Client thread, client socket, cd.run. I don't get it. Actually, there's 3 general ways in which this loop could work. Dispatching a thread to handle. Maybe I should just A real read eval print loop refers to internet. Server भनेको चाहिँ socket dot socket अनि socket dot af inet र socket dot फरक चाहिँ पर्दैन but I'm just gonna find server dot listen गर्नु पर्यो हैन त्यसपछि any client client socket र address server dot accept. So यो चाहिँ hang भइरहेछ. That's good news. Here's what's going on. First we import the U, which provides socket related, then the line U creates a socket that will act as our server. The first argument U tells the socket whatever address we are using. AF stands for address family. Here is my understanding of what this means. When you write an email to someone, you use their email address, right? Otherwise the email wouldn't reach the correct people. Typically when we write email address as U domain DTN. For example, you wouldn't bat an eye if you saw an email you. However, you could decide to reformat the email address from this would be a new address family where all the addresses follow a different format. Thus, the first argument socket.socket specifies the type or format. The inet portion of socket AF inet says we are going to use IPv4 address. Nice. Secondly, the sock stream argument specifies the type of socket. However, I have no idea what sock stream type means. Hopefully we'll find out as we go along. After we created the socket, we need to tell it to act as server socket. For the socket to be a server socket, we need to tell it the address we want to listen to. Something like if you want people to be able to send you emails, Zondo, first we have to create that email account by writing we are telling the server to pay attention to connections that come into address you. The localhost part, which is called host, and you is put together. They form the address by using localhost as the host. The server socket is the only visible inside our own computer. The port u, because that's a random large number. I like when playing around these things. Avoid small numbers as they have specific meanings. After creating the server and telling it where to listen to, we must actually tell the server to start listening. And that's where this line comes in. Listen does. Finally, we want to accept connections and use them for something, so we write okay, so we accept the connections, right? Nice. This is the line of code that grabs a connection from client and does something with it, because no one is trying to connect to a random host and port. The code hangs. It's waiting for a socket to connecting to the server through your browser. After creating this server, I had a glimpse of inspiration. I opened the browser and I typed localhost. I saw this. The code is no longer hanging, right? Okay. What just happened? So, what the array? Okay, the code no longer hangs. Nice. Client socket dot send. Alright, so if we try sending a string, okay, b1 byte wala the return value is the length of message we send to the other end of the socket. At the same time, the look of the browser changes, at least for me on Firefox. Now the bottom left all tip says we are transferring data and the page preview is now. Now it's the browser is trying to be left hanging. Why? I suspect it's because we never told the browser it's already sent all the data we wanted. So maybe sockets work like a bit like files, and we have to close them after being used. We can try calling the method .close on our client socket. However, if we do that, Firefox does not like it and it presents a message saying that the connection was reset. I also tried this out on Chrome and it turns out it completes sooner in the process when you try sending. Okay, What is more, the error message is that localhost sent an invalid response, which is something. And reading, receiving incoming data. At this point, I went to take a shower and what the fuck? Perhaps we need to read the actual request first and then we reply with the data. So I closed my socket with and reran it with the data and I opened the. After that, I tried reading from the socket. To be completely I have no idea where this next cross to and it's as if some other sockets were queued to into connectivity except it's not showing as I read and a bunch of times and many times I call the method dot read. Except that sockets don't seem to have a method dot read, thus this let's try calling dot receive. Azur! Azur! I just realized it's shit. कहाँ 10 बजेरी नयाँको पहिलो सौगात स्वरूप
and within minutes, you have it.
GG's. Maybe I should just do this after I learn everything. Okay, next time I stream, I will understand socket programming and will make an application of some sort that will help me like connect like text between. Okay, will create a simple texting mechanism between our phone and this one. I mean, to and fro. Yeah, sure. To and fro. Why not? For today,